The Lead. Sponsored by Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Greg Tinker for The Lead, and we are honored today to have Coach Mark Glenn of the Dora Bulldogs with us. He is the head baseball coach at Dora and will be in his second season. Coach Glenn, welcome to the set.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We're glad to have you here and want to do a little bit of biographical things first. So you grew up in Pennsylvania. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's correct. I was actually born in Georgia, but at the age of 4, my dad, his job moved him to Shreveport, Louisiana. The sinus issues that I had, and my grandfather was very ill and was, near death. We were going to move near Philadelphia or Allentown, but instead he passed away suddenly, and we ended up just moving where my grandmother was. She had a house there, and I went from 2nd grade to half of 9th grade in Pennsylvania. So
you've got Southern roots.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I thought I detected mostly a Southern accent there.
Correct. Correct. I used to get made fun of in
carried that with you.
elementary
Right?
school for that. But my mother was from the Scranton, Pennsylvania area, and my dad is from Coleman County. So.
Well, as you were growing up, you loved baseball. You were a big baseball watcher, and had to kind of be creative for yourself as you were growing up because you wanted to be a pitcher. Talk a little bit about that.
I did. I remember watching the '85 World Series. It was the Royals and the Cardinals, and I watched a lot of baseball with my dad over the years. We were big Braves fans, and I miss my dad very much. And every time I watch a game, I think of him. But the love started then, and T-ball all the way up, and I only missed 1 year of baseball. We had to move to California for 3 months, and it was during the summer. So it was just a big vacation, and it was cheaper for us to move out there than for him to fly every weekend. So I had to skip a year. But I remember going up. We lived in an apartment complex, and every day I'd go up and get on the parking deck. At the top there was tennis ball courts, and I just start picking up tennis balls and putting them in bags, and we moved them all back to Pennsylvania, and my parents were like, "What are you doing that for?" I said, "I've got a plan for it, don't worry." And there was a lot of times the weather would be very bad, but I would go ahead and, dig me a trench, and like we were talking about, I would get in the corner of the driveway and where it met the road and hit that cement block. And my grandmother had a two-door garage, and if I missed a round, I'd go. And you get tired of running,
So you learned at an early age, or a pivotal age, how to control what you were doing, and I think you referred to it, and it is referred to in baseball as command and control.
Correct.
And when you're able to do that, as you well know, if you're able to locate as a pitcher, you don't have to throw all that hard necessarily if you've got command of your pitches.
No, sir. I never saw the day I threw 80.
Yeah.
It was mid-upper 70s, is topping out.
You and I have a lot in common because, as I said to you before we started the interview, I wore out a spot in our front yard throwing against our cement block front porch with a baseball, and if I missed and unfortunately hit the front door, which was a storm door, I didn't run a lap, but I sure did hope that Mom didn't come out at that point and make me quit,
Right.
Whip me and make me quit. So I can relate to that because I too learned the same lesson as you. And so you followed kind of a similar path. You moved to, as I did, I didn't move to Holly Pond, but I'm just talking about the progression of your life. Moved to Holly Pond.
Correct.
Tried out for the baseball team.
And was cut.
It was cut.
Yeah.
And so, but there's a lesson in that, right? Because you didn't give up, and
Correct.
Later that season you got cut, they came back to you, right?
Correct. My best friend in high school, he lives in Arab now. His name is Andy Palace. His dad, he passed away not long ago. He was coaching the JV team, and Andy and I got real close. January, February, we tried out, March, and things weren't going very well. And he came to me one day in class and he said, "Do you remember we talked about you being a pitcher?" I was like, "That's all I do." And of course, during tryouts, didn't look at any pitching. So, missed a couple fly balls, and that was the end of it.
Sure,
So,
sure.
I did get better with that. But anyway, Andy said, "I'm going to talk to my dad, and would you want to come back?" And I said, "Sure, absolutely, I would." And it worked out pretty good.
So you got to pitch varsity baseball at Holly Pond.
Correct.
Had enough success to be able to go to Sneed State, and then from Sneed moved on to Calhoun, where you really had some success.
Correct. After our last varsity game at Fairview, I didn't want it to end, and I knew I wasn't good enough to be on scholarship. So I called around, and I had gotten an academic scholarship at Sneed, so I was able to walk on. And they redshirted me the first year, so I got a lot of experience with Coach Hallmark, our pitching coach at the time, and they brought me back that second year, and a lot of my teammates were like, you never get to go on road trips. We just inter-squad, that's all we did. And I was getting outs in inter-squad, but it never translated to, playing any fall ball. And then I got the news I was cut. I begged and pleaded and got to pitch. I threw 9 pitches against Alabama A&M, 3 up, 3 down. Ground out to short and 2 pop-ups on the infield, and got cut the next day. So it was pretty rough, but I went ahead and I transferred academically to Calhoun, and Coach Gary Reedus, 15 years in the major leagues, he wanted to see me throw, so I went up and threw a bullpen, and about 25 pitches in, he said, "You got a spot. I can't promise you anything," but it quickly took care of itself there.
So you had some success there, learned a lot from Coach Reedus, and that translated into a move to four-year college, a move through Shorter onto Alabama A&M.
Correct. I went 9-3 my freshman year through 93 1/3 innings, and we were getting on the bus to come to Birmingham to play Jeff State, and Coach Reedus said, "Come here a minute." He opens up his truck door, and he collected antique vehicles. So he opens up his truck, it's like from the 70s, and there was a manila folder sitting there, and he opens it up, and there was a scholarship sitting there for my sophomore year. So I signed it, and we came home to Birmingham, and that's how that season ended up. So not long after that, we get into the fall of my sophomore year, and we're at Birmingham Southern. And Wallace Hansfield's leadoff hitter hits a triple. Stranding. Get 3 quick outs, and then threw 4 more shutout innings. And then after the game, I was approached by Shorter College. It wasn't the head coach, it was their assistant coach. He did the recruiting, and they made me an offer, and talked about it. Coach Reedus, he recommended that I wait, but then again, with lack of size, lack of velocity, after a while we went ahead and jumped on that, and it didn't work out. I was told if I wasn't throwing 85 by the season starting, that I wouldn't see the mound, and 2 1/3 innings was it. So it was time to come home. Didn't give up though.
No, so you went on to Alabama A&M, had success there.
That's correct. Coach Thomas Wesley, it never failed. He would bring his lawn chair out to Calhoun, and he would tell me warming up in the bullpen, "When you coming? When you coming?" So I called him. I begged him. I said, I know it's NCAA. He said, "I wish you could come tomorrow," but I went ahead and finished out the year at Shorter, and then moved back home, and made it to Huntsville, and finished up very, very good.
So there's a lot of lessons I'm sure you pass along to your players, because
Correct.
now you move from that into coaching, and you're able to say to your guys that you're coaching, "Hey, look, these kinds of things are what I did to become what I wanted to be."
Exactly.
All the way back to Pennsylvania and raking out the snow and building a path to throw against a cement block, to getting cut at Holly Pond and then getting cut at Sneed, and
Correct.
all of those kinds of things. To say to them, what do you say?
Well, what I say to them is be the first one in and the last one out. That's what I had to do as far as being in the weight room. Make sure that, you show me that you love it more than I do, because I love the game deeply. And I just ask for you to match my intensity, match my energy. And, most of the time you can get out of them. There's days, um, but Coach Reedus, he was the ultimate motivator. Um, when I wasn't in the bullpen at practice or having to run, I was moving around at practice with him, trying to soak it up, because he knew that eventually this is what I wanted to do. And he was fine with that. He was really great about doing that. I got to see him his last year. He worked for the Montgomery Biscuits. He coached first base. And after COVID, he went ahead and hung it up. So he's back in Decatur, golfing every day and collecting his antique vehicles.
And he may be golfing with a guy from town. I don't know if you know Goober Williams, if you ever met him.
I haven't.
But now Goober played at Calhoun with Gary. And then, of course, Gary went on to the Reds. Goober got drafted, but didn't go, but was a phenomenal baseball player for Walker High School and then for Calhoun. So he and Gary, I would suppose, are still friends, because they played in the same era up there at Calhoun. And I think Goober's pretty fond of golf too, so I'm sure that he and Gary have hit a golf ball or two.
Yes, sir.
So you love baseball, you wanted to coach, and so you got in it, spent some time as an assistant, then moved up to be a head coach. So quickly talk about how it is you were invited to be the head coach at Dora.
Okay. Well, Jig Willingham, I met him a few years ago when I was coaching at Minor, and we built a good relationship and talked baseball a lot. And I was let go at Southeastern Blunt in Blunt County, Rimlap. We had gone 43-25 in 2 years, and made the second round of the 2A playoffs. And I had applied several places, had no idea that Dora was open. And one of my coaching friends had mentioned that he heard it was open. So I was actually at a 35 and over game, and I was sitting there and I was about to do game changer. I wasn't pitching. I would pitch later in the game. So I went ahead and I sent a text message to Jig, and it, like that, snapped back and got a response, and it wasn't long after that. So
you arrived last year as the head coach and had immediate success. 16 games, I think you had won. And
correct. We won 16.
Won the county tournament for the first time in a long time. So talk about when you arrived and the kind of philosophy you brought with you and that you're trying to instill in the kids that you inherited, and how they bought into that and what it looks like now moving ahead.
Correct. We teach them it's a game of failure, and it can show a lot of character. You have to understand that if we have a bad day at the plate, you can make up for it defensively. If you kick the ball around, you can make up for it on the mound, or you can make up for it at the plate. And unlike other sports, tomorrow's another day. You can put the failures behind yesterday and build on something positive. We preach on always try to find something positive, and I try to bring out the positives that I see. You'll see me coaching third. I have a notebook, just a little pad, and I'll jot down the positives and the negatives. And I always try to look for the silver lining even in the negatives, things that we need to work on.
So obviously the kids did buy into that.
Correct.
Because you had a winning season. And so talk about now your expectations for this upcoming season, which is really right around the corner.
Right. There's a lot of goals that I have set, and I hope that our players, follow suit with that. I think we could have finished a little bit better than we did last year. We peaked at a good time, but we ran out of momentum. And one thing that I've tweaked this year is we're going to play more during spring break. I think that time that we had off really hurt us when we came back from the break. But I want to see our hitting improve. We worked on that this summer. We did a lot of drills in the cages in our indoor facility, and I saw a lot of that pay off. So I want to see how we do when we get started in January with that, for sure.
So as a coach across these many years, player and coach, you've picked up some things that make up who you are as a coach. So what are those things, and maybe you've already said some of them and what you try to relay to the team, but what are some of the things you've picked up along the way? Coach speak, so to speak, but it's more than that because it's part of who you are and you know
Right.
how you carry yourself as a coach and as a man. So what would be a couple of those things that you have picked up along the way?
Well, I have met some people that I lean on that really are helpful in the coaching world, and you know they're very good at giving advice. And you know we're in a business where you know you copy, you steal anything that you know is going to help you out. So Jeremy Sheetinger, he is the coach at Georgia Gwinnett College. It's NAIA school in Lawrenceville, Georgia. He does a lot of promotional things for his program and does a lot of really neat connection with his team. And I've seen him twice. He's spoken at Montgomery and spoken in Birmingham at baseball clinics. And you learn a lot from him. He's an open book. He shares everything. So one thing that he does in particular is on Wednesdays, his players take out their cell phone and they walk around the field. He gives them about 10 or 15 minutes before practice, and they must, and no text, they must call somebody that they love and tell them they love them and appreciate what they've done for them in their life, which I think is awesome.
And that is a fantastic thing that he's instilling in them.
Absolutely. So we're going to infuse some of that. Toolbox Tuesday teaches them how to change oil, just change a flat tire, just anything like that, life skills. Teach them how to balance a checkbook. I know that's old-fashioned, but just little things like that to help them out with their life skills.
So
I think that's very neat.
So it's more than baseball. It's about developing the whole person.
It's much more than baseball. That is correct. And another man by the name of Mark Jackson, he's a minister. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to contact him. Our baseball camp is in during Christmas break, and I'd like for him to have some closing remarks at 3 o'clock if he would come and do that. I'm sure he will. So when you see this, Mark Jackson, please, if you can clean your schedule for that day, I'd appreciate it.
That's what I was about to say. No pressure on him now that this is going to be on Facebook and
That's
you know,
correct.
folks are going to see it. Well, Coach Glenn, we're glad that you're here with us today, and we have everybody sign the poster behind you. So if you'd take the gray Sharpie there and sign the poster, we'd be delighted.
Okay, I sure will. Thank you. Thank you.
Any last thing you'd like to add or say before we wrap this up?
I'm just I'm ready to get started, and I look forward to you know reaching our goals that we've set. You know, 20 wins is always what we strive for, 20 or more. We need to make the playoffs.
Quickly, who's in your area?
We have a very tough area. Corners got both of their UAB signees back on the mound. They're both you know upper 80s. They can touch 90 when they need to. That's a very tough assignment. Cordova's in there, of course. You know they were very good last year. We were able to get them in the county tournament, but when it came time for area play, game one it was very tight. We ended up winning it 2-1, and then we dropped the doubleheader both games at Cordova. And then also we have Curry, and we played them in the county championship game, and then you know we were able to get by them in the 3-game series. But it's a very tough area, and we got to deal with that again. So we got to get through that, and you know we have the bullseye on us for the county tournament. So I hope we can turn around and win that again. We got one less game to do it this time.
Yeah.
So, but we have Cordova. So tough
Well,
assignment.
We wish you the best of success for the season, and it's been our pleasure to visit with you a little bit. This is Greg Tinker for Coach Mark Glenn and the Lead saying good afternoon.
Thank you.
The Lead, sponsored by Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC.